that's my plan here. All right, so it like I mentioned in the chat, it's in the chat I sent out. What I want to talk about is employment with the different demographic cohorts, and everybody I invited, I considered to be an expert in their field and on top of their game, and that's, you know, that's why you're here. I know folks are busy, so those that can't be here, they can't be here. It happens. But with that, and if anybody pops in, I'll do my best to try to pay attention to the participant waiting room thing. I'm not always really good at that one. So usually if you're here on time, you get in, and if not, you gotta hang out a little while. It's just, so we had a big boost in residential sales this year. So this is gonna pertain more toward 2020, looking at COVID and employment or hiring from those different demographic cohorts like I spoke about, in order to meet those needs of increased income that we face. So that's why I wanted to talk with you guys, because I know you guys rock, and you've been rocking, and you've been crazy busy this year. So are we only seeing the increase in residential sales, or is it in commercial as well? And do either of you do commercial?
I do not do commercial. I'm strictly residential.
Okay.
When you're saying sales, Rudy, do you mean, are you talking about construction or overall sales?
Everything over last year, more than your normal growth pattern. So
our commercial sales are down significantly this year because the governor didn't allow commercial pools to be open until just recently.
Okay.
So in terms of construction wise, we only build residential. We don't do commercial, but commercial we do probably, I would say, any given year, 10 to 15% of our service revenue is commercial.
Okay. And you don't have, and I'm not looking for numbers or anything like that, but I mean, was this year residential a significant jump over your last 3 years of growth patterns? Or
yeah, huge. We you know, a business overall, we are hovering around 6.5 million in sales between our brick and mortar retail store. It's a single location, our service department, and our construction division. Retail and construction both are usually somewhere around 1.25 to 1.5 million annually.
Okay.
And this represents then anywhere from 3 to 4 million a year. I had a meeting today with principal department heads, and our service profit in a slightly gross fashion is up 30% profit.
Okay.
A year, you know, last year to date kind of thing. So yeah, our equipment sales are up anywhere from 50 to 100%, depending on what it is.
And your growth the year prior?
Yeah. Last year was a very, very good year for us. So yeah, over the year prior. You know, since let's say in the last 6 years, we've had steady increases, last year being the most significant. And this year is going to be one of the best years we've ever had.
Jerry, Sam?
No, actually, it's a little bit different. It's been a weird year for us on multiple levels. We changed some of our service processes for our residential customers, which is all we do is residential. With the pandemic and so many people here in California being left at home for such long periods of time, we had two things to deal with. One was so many people being home and not everybody working from home. Some were just flat not working. So we've lost our service revenue is down about 2%.
Oh, okay.
For residential pool service. We've lost a good number of accounts. I couldn't tell you how many specifically, but we've made up in other places. Our gross sales company-wide are up about 3%, even though we're down 2% in service. You know, we've done more of other things to make up for that. and with the changes in our processes and whatnot, and reimagining how we service pools, we have upped our profits about 13% through July.
And that's overall.
That's overall.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And that's no construction. That's all basically, we did almost no construction this year. Just one remodel job pretty much was all that we did. The rest of it is all just service related, filter cleans, repairs, equipment upgrades, things of that nature. But, our savings in, our cost, our expenses are down about 15% in cost savings through things that we're doing differently now. So
you managed it better, even though you recognize the loss in residential, slight loss, but still a loss nonetheless.
yes.
Now, Dave Rockwell jumped in. Hey, Dave. Hey, Ken. Thank you for showing up. So, Dan's recognized the big boost in residential sales over last year. Jerry's has recognized a little bit of a drop. I was curious, and I don't need numbers, but where are you seeing your residential service? Is it up or down? I mean, you're also in California with Jerry, so I'm wondering if this is just a difference in the way quarantines and pandemics and such were handled.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a really funny thing that's been happening. We service ultra high-end residential in the West LA area, kind of the Sunset Corridor from West Hollywood to the beach. The really strange thing is it's like we're seeing a shuffling in accounts. It's like customers are getting very weird, picky about little things, firing their pool service at the drop of a hat. And so that's not only happening to us, and it's happening to other people. So almost for every pool that we lose, we pick one up somewhere from another pool guy being a victim of the same thing. I don't know if it's just a way where the ultra rich people exercise some control over a situation that makes them feel powerless. I really don't know the psychology of it. It's the weirdest thing that's been happening to us.
Okay. Ken, how's it going down?
Yes.
How's it going down there? Residential sales up, same, different? Are you recognizing the flip-flop of customers like David mentioned? What are we seeing down there?
No, not necessarily. I'm not seeing it much of the flip-flop on the residential. I mean, we saw a little bit, like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 accounts, that pulled we can't afford it. We're going to go a different direction. A couple of them went with, just a really low price.
Okay.
And then a couple of them have taken their service on themselves.
So, and now you do commercial also, correct? Commercial.
Correct. Yeah, we have commercial as well.
How did your commercial service sales go over last year? Are we up, flat, down?
We're down because of the COVID.
Okay.
I mean, we had stuff closed.
Right.
So, the 7-day a week and 5-day a week, most of those went to 3 visits a week. And then, some of all my twice a week stuff stayed twice a week.
Okay.
Most of my 3 times a week stayed steady. But
So
the higher end facilities where they have us coming in every day, they cut back quite a bit.
Okay. So I can't help to notice a similarity between Jerry and Dave, and you're both in California, correct? So I do wonder if that's just a difference in the way that the governor put out information. And I know you guys had to jump through hoops, not that we didn't, in Florida.
Ken may have hit upon something that made a light bulb go off in my head because we did hear from some of our customers that left us that they found somebody cheaper, but also because our rates are higher, a lot of the people we're picking up are people that had a cheaper service, but they're not happy with what's being done.
Right.
So they got what they paid for. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that may not be a bad thing. You know, it may be just kind of a natural pulling the weeds, so to speak, and making room for profitable growth.
So Dan and Jerry, are you guys also seeing folks undercutting the market, COVID undercuts, or running their pandemic pricing lower than everyone else? Or
You know, in the Midwest, we've seen the opposite. You know, we were at times on like technical repairs scheduling 6 and 8 weeks out, and we weren't alone. So where commonly businesses around the Midwest have built-in discounts that people can work with. Us, for example, all of our pricing is set up that any one of our 50 employees can offer a 10% discount if they need to close a sale. And this year, we've not needed to do that.
so you haven't had any problems with competitors lowballing. Now, I know Ken in Florida, that's just a day in the life. We don't always lose people to them, but there's always a lot of $65, $75 a month service folks. But
Our mate, the market's being so different, just so you have an idea as to what we're dealing with. And if you guys relocate to the Chicago area, I'll hunt you down and shoot you. But our maintenance for residential pools is anywhere between $400 and $500 a month plus chemicals. But with that, our maintenance technicians are only able to do maybe 6 or 7 properties a day. You know, we don't have the ability of driving into a neighborhood and hitting 15 homes, walking door to door and that kind of stuff like some do. So our costs are a lot higher. Our payroll costs are a lot more too. Being in the wonderful state of Illinois, the way, the unions tend to orchestrate everything here, whether public or private, the costs, I can't get people to work for, you know, what a lot of people are paying in some of the Sun Belt states. So
Dave, I'm going to assume you're up there around that $400 or $500 mark, if not more. Jerry, have you been seeing folks undercutting? Have you been losing to lower pricing, or we
haven't been seeing too much of the undercutting on pricing. I'll back up with what Dave said. You know, there's a churn. We call it churning customers here. We got a serious churn going on, and what we're seeing for us specifically here in Northern California area is, because so many people are home, they're ultra picky, and it's not just the ultra rich, because, you know, we're more of a mainstream, you know, residential property. We don't have the high end stuff like Dave does, but because they're home all day long, and they've many of them not been working, and even if they were working, they're spending so much more time in their backyards, they're just ultra picky. And there's, you know, some, you know, mustard algae is a big bad year up here in Northern California, and that's kind of a cyclical thing. And so dealing with that, people just have extremely low tolerances. But at the same time, we're putting on new accounts is almost as fast, not quite as fast as they're losing them. I mean, we do, you know, 5 or 7 new accounts every week, seems like right now. So it's the pickiness, and the other thing is, from my opinion, I don't think people are just using their pools; they're abusing their pools, and that's part of the problem. Dave understands, and you got the rich guys, Dave. I've got the common folks, you know, and they don't understand. They don't understand that, you know, you have 2 or 3 families in that residential pool that was built for one, designed for one, and normally you run your filtration system based on one family, and they're putting 3 and 4 times the use on it, and they don't think they have to make any adjustments, and it's all the pool guys' fault out here.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So I say goodbye. You know.
One of my movie star clients has a 73,000 gallon pool, and during this pandemic, he's been heating it up to 100 degrees.
Wow. Our water hits almost that on its own. So, all right. So with that, all right, I just getting a feel for where everybody's at. I wanted to talk about hiring to meet the needs that we've seen this year in COVID, and then any special things that we have to do for the employees, masks, what have you, different things that we've had to do in yards, and then how that affects employment. I mean, I've seen things where folks just flat out left because they don't want to go to people's houses due to, you know, the pandemic. So what are you doing that's working? What's happened that hasn't? And more importantly, I want to know what demographic we're drawing our new folks from, especially in those areas where we've jumped in residential. I'm assuming we've had to hire more to meet that need. So is it Gen Z? Are we getting millennials in? Gen X, are we still hiring? So give me your thoughts on that. Anyone?
Problem that we have here is that guys can collect so much on unemployment right now that nobody wants to work. Nobody wants a job.
Because of the 600 extra or
We
whatever.
put ads out there and nobody answers them. It's very difficult to find anybody that's willing to work, much less somebody with a brain.
Gentlemen, same? Dan, Ken, Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry, it's the same thing here. We've been fortunate that with our process, you know, reimagining our service programs, that we haven't had to hire a lot, and we haven't had a high growth anyways. But, you know, we did have 2 guys go off on temporary disability for other things. So we did have to replace them, and they're both still off. So it was a challenge to get people in, and it's like trying to get just responding to the ad, and then we had to hire 4 people to get 1 to stick.
Wow.
You know, it's
Okay.
crazy up here.
Yep, that's about right.
What have you had to do different in the ad to get them to respond, or is just have you had to do anything different to get that 1 out of 4?
No, we revamped the ad a little bit, but nothing drastic. I mean, it's
Okay.
the conventional stuff that we offer, and we think we're a pretty fair employer we're hiring pool service guys. We're not hiring rocket scientists, you know, and so we pay fair. We have good benefits, you know, insurance, the whole 9 yards. But when people are getting $600 cash, you know, the younger people that we're looking, you know, generally for doing what we do, you know, because it's physical, you know, if you're out there every day doing what we do. They don't want to work that hard when they can stay at home and get, you know, $1,200 or $1,000 a week. What the hell do they want to go work hard for?
I hear you. Dan, Ken, where are you guys at? Are we having hiring issues for the same reasons?
I don't really see that here, but we're again sort of fitting.
You're going to make us all move to Chicago is what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
right.
Yeah, I don't know about the winters up there.
We got a house here.
So many years ago, I back in the late 80s, early 90s, sort of developed a whole process of how our service personnel are paid. And, you know, it's evolved through the years, but first of all, we have an ongoing hiring procedure. You know, we are always looking for employees, even in the middle of winter up here when there are no pools open in January. We're still looking to hire people. we look mostly for personality traits as opposed to anything else. We can teach them everything they need to know. And with that, it allows us to bring in some people that are not necessarily looking to be making, you know, $50,000, $60,000 walking in the door. But we have a roadmap by which they can see where they're going to start. And there's a whole process over the course of about a 7-year time frame where someone walking in the door who applies themselves can be making $100,000 or more 7 years down the road. And I think because of that process, it helps us to, when we get somebody in that we talk to and we want to offer a position, we literally present this service technician agreement to them to show them the roadmap and show them how they can get from where they're sitting right now.
But how are you getting them in the door? I guess let me ask that question.
So most of that, not that we don't do the, you know, run an ad on Indeed or ads on Facebook and stuff like that, we do. But most of our best efforts have been 2 places. HVAC technical training schools, and that's where the roadmap is real important because those guys are expecting to come out of there and be, you know, within 2-3 years making, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and through other employees. Our best employees from our employees, and you know, we have a very, I would say, minor incentive for an employee to bring someone in terms of a monetary gain for them. But mostly people like to work with their friends and potentially family members, depending. And if you find somebody with a personality that fits what you're looking for, someone who is caring, who wants to do a good job, typically the friends they surround themselves with are the same mentality. So when you get that other person in, they tend to be along the same lines. And for, you know, we don't have a high turnover. You know, our average tenure this past year, I think, was like 17 years.
Okay.
So
That's fantastic. And I definitely want to talk more with you, maybe offline, about your retention plan, because it sounds fantastic. It does drift a little bit beyond here. We'll see how the time, I'll come, we can circle back to that if you don't mind, because I do want to talk about it. But I also want to ask Ken, how have you been getting folks for positions? What works?
I run ads, and I rarely hire anybody from the ads. Typically, it's a referral from one of the guys. And I mean, I've hired a few individuals along the way from ads that we've posted, and they never stick. They just really never stick. I mean, it seems like there is the new hires have more invested because they're a referral. Okay. And most of these guys are young. I mean, all my guys are, you know, under 26, 25, and it's training.
So no one has offered more money because of what's going on with COVID, right? We're all the same pay scale that we've been with, I mean, minus any cost of living you would have done in 2020 anyway. Is that is where we're at? So we're not having to incentives and add COVID incentives or anything along those lines to bring in people now that they're home getting paid more than they would busting their ass.
We have not, but one thing that I have done is I have given out 2 rounds of bonuses this summer, and there's a 3rd one coming up next week that was not advertised to the employees, and I'm not specifically calling it a COVID bonus,
right?
But effectively that's what it is, because here in you know, California, the service industry, we never shut down. So my guys have been out there slogging through all this stuff all spring and summer, and now we're slogging through fire, smoke, bad air, and we can't get the N95 masks that we're required to give out whenever the smoke gets so bad. So, gotta almost break one regulation to stay in compliance with the other regulations, it seems right now. So giving out those extra bonuses, the guys are sure appreciative of it.
Okay, so like hazard duty pay almost. That's,
Yeah, I didn't go that specific with it, Rudy, but that's what's in management's mind here
oh, sure.
for the reward. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense. Have anyone else had to implement anything along those lines? I know, Dan, you said you have a tiered structure for advancement. So I guess that's a good phrase for it. So have you had to add anything different this year, or we're just?
We didn't have to, but we did, just as Jerry said, and we're having a great year, so it's very easy to do, but we've given out bonuses a couple different times. And, I have to say, 50 employees, and I put them up against anybody anywhere, because these people have really pulled together, and we've had our challenges here. We've never stopped working too, just like Jerry said. Illinois didn't shut us down at all from the standpoint of service. So, but we didn't tie it to being COVID hazard, so to speak. But because everyone's been busting to take care of people and do the right thing, and coming in instead of sitting at home with the extra $600 and all that, we threw quite a bit of money at them a couple of times out of
All right.
more of a generosity thing than a hazard thing.
Dave, Ken, anything along those lines, or we didn't have to, or we did?
We basically set up a pandemic plan for the company. And so I've been paying for regular tests because of a few of our customers down here.
For the employees. Okay.
What's that?
I said for your employees, you're paying for COVID tests?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we have a couple of customers that I wouldn't say required it, but they were definitely leaning pretty hard on us to make sure that, we had a program in place. So we included that. For a couple of my guys that are doing a lot more of Miami, they're running a little higher risk down there on the commercial facilities. I've been trying to, give them a little bit extra here and there.
Okay. So that's interesting.
Nothing structured. Yeah, I mean, most of the guys, doing the residential routes, it's pretty straightforward. Although we have had a lot of people at home, like everybody else is saying, and a lot more use on the pools. People lonely, not seeing anybody. All of a sudden, the pool guy's there, and they want to,
Follow 'em around.
chit chat for 20 minutes. Yeah.
So
it's like, come on, don't walk up in my face.
so
Because it's been pretty bad. One of our guys actually was sick. He was out for, the mandatory, 14 days. So it's been, other than that, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty
okay.
steady.
So with that sends me up just a question that I didn't think that it was going to come up, but how many others have had customers that have insisted on COVID tests? And then are you aware of any customers that have COVID where it's presented a challenge?
Yeah, we've had actually a number of customers. Unfortunately, they've been very upfront with us about it. And in a couple of cases, it caused us to have to put technicians or teams of technicians into quarantine. And we had one early on, an older gentleman living at home, who 2 days after we were there, his equipment's in the house in the basement. We were opening the pool up for the season, and the one guy suited up, mask, gloves, the whole 9 yards, went down to take care of the equipment. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from this guy's adult daughter saying, "Want to let you know Dad's in the hospital with COVID."
Oh, wow. Okay.
he hadn't left the house in months at that time, is not capable of leaving on his own, but the family has healthcare workers that come to help him throughout the day periodically, and that's how it got in the house. So we had to, you know, test not because of the customer's request, but out of needing to know what's going on with our staff. And then we early on implemented a lot of isolation processes way back in March, the third week of March, to try to contain should somebody become potentially contaminated and minimize the outbreak. At one point in time, I did have 5 senior people all out because of a potential
Oh,
contamination.
wow. Okay.
That was the most drastic thing we had occur, but we believe we had one employee that contracted it early on. He was out for 2 weeks with all the typical symptoms. He could not get tested. No one would want him coming around, but we're pretty sure that he had it. But that's the only, out of 50 employees, the only one that actually contracted it that we're aware of.
Gotcha. Dave, Jerry, anything along those lines?
I had one customer that had it. We had no contact with her, and it hasn't really nobody outside of a few friends of mine. I haven't really run across it that much.
Jerry?
Yeah, we haven't had any. We've had a couple of customers that have said they had it, but in their situations, they were staying inside and away, and their equipment was outside. So we, just made sure that the service technician was aware and everything, and was doing all the proper stuff with gloves at that house in particular. We provided the guys with all the stuff. But we also put information out to the customers that, we're working outside. We don't have cause to be closer than 6 feet to you. So please don't get closer than 6 feet to us. You can have a nice conversation from 20 feet away. Okay.
True.
But we still had a few customers that said, we really want you to wear a mask, despite what we all know. And it's like, it's not worth the argument. We have a lot of elderly customers, and it's like, put your damn mask on, guys. I just tell them, I said, keep your mask in your pocket. It's real simple, just a cloth mask. If they come out and they want you to mask up, mask up. And there were a few where we put notes on the route card, mask up before you go in. We had one guy whose roommate tested positive. So he was off for 14 days, self-isolating, staying away, stayed at his parents' house or whatever. But that was the only thing that we had.
Has anybody, any of the 4 of y'all, has anybody had anybody just flat out quit due to the pandemic? Sorry, I can't do this.
No, not I.
Dan?
We had 2 internal staff employees, one retail store employee, and one was our service and construction dispatch office employee.
Dave? Sorry.
No, that's right.
Dave? Everybody stay on board?
Yeah, everybody's not. I mean, we've lost people, but not anything to do with the pandemic.
Okay, fair enough.
We
Jerry?
had one quit. I was one of the new hires that just decided that for the amount of work and the risk of exposure and everything, it's probably more the amount of work than really the risk of exposure. He just didn't want to work. But that was one of the reasons he put down when he quit.
Okay. I only have 2 more questions, so this isn't going to go on forever.
So really quick, Rudy, just so you know, we actually had 2 commercial facilities where they had a pretty big outbreak with a number of concierge and housekeeping commercial. And we do a lot of construction management, startup and, turnover. And we had 3 sites that they actually shut the jobs down. And, you know, basically then after, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, this was like or the end of April and going into May. And they actually then came back online, but the whole, you know, like the number of people that they would let on each floor, you know, in the elevators, it had a big effect on the speed of the construction. Of course, we felt a lot better because you're not, you know, nuts to butts in an elevator with, you know, a bunch of people
Right.
trying to get up to a swimming pool.
Okay. What, so like I mentioned, demographic cohorts, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X. Who did we hire this year? Was it predominantly any one of those groups, or it didn't make a difference?
I think all of our hires were in the, I would say 24 to 28-year-old range. And we brought in probably 6 or 7 new employees this year.
Is that new that they're all in that range for this year, or is that just every year?
It's pretty typical, I think.
Okay. So there's not been then a big change there. Anyone else? Jerry, who are you hiring?
We were pretty much the same. They were mostly the younger, you know, mid 20s. And like I said, 1 out of 4 stuck. Or it took us 4 to get 1, let's say, put it that way.
And is that the same age group you typically hire year after year?
More times than not, on occasion, we'll go into the 40s.
Okay.
Like if we're, you know, somebody for just strictly doing full service. And we had one of those this year. Actually, come to think of it, there was one that was in his 40s, I believe, and he just couldn't work that hard or didn't want to work that hard.
40 can work hard.
I had the same experience, Jerry. I brought in a guy. He was a vet. You know, in the pool industry for a while. You know, family, whatnot. And once it got hot down here, he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
August is fun in Florida. All right. So, but with that, Ken, the same. What age group are you typically hiring in outside of that one gentleman?
Same thing.
Well,
you know,
that 25.
low to mid 20s. Yeah, I mean.
Okay, and that's the same.
23, 22, up to like 26.
And that's the same as it's been every year, pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty
Dave?
straight.
Well, we kind of get both groups that have been talked about. Guys that are a little older, they're mid 30s to mid 40s, and the younger guys in their mid 20s. And 2 things about that kind of what's already been brought out is the older guys. It's a little hard. They just, you know, they're not physically able to do the things that they could do when they were younger, but they're a little smarter. But the millennials, it's like they'll start out and work really well for a while, and then within about a year, it's like, okay, do I own the company now? Their expectation level is you know, it's just not anywhere near close to reality.
Anybody have any employees younger than 21?
Not now. I have had in the last 2 or 3 years, I've had 2 that were under 21.
Did they stick?
What's that?
Did they stick?
Actually, one of them did stick. And I actually ended up laying him off at the end of last fall, going into winter, because I knew with our new reimagined processes that he was going to be expendable at that point. So, but he was a good kid. You know, the bigger issue with that age group is getting them insured to drive my vehicles. That was You know, I had limitations from the insurance companies on what I could do, or they were even tougher on them as far as how many points they had on their record, and what would happen if they did get anything, you know.
Is that age group, with that, is that age group responding to ads and they're just not hireable, or they're just not really responding as much because the under 21, I think Jerry, you were the sole voice I heard on that. So are they responding to ads?
Not really, not to us too much, but you know, through some of the stuff that we were doing with CPSA and trying to reach out to high schools and with training programs and stuff like that, we were trying to get into that high school range because, you know, some people are looking for careers, they're not looking for college. So we're still going to be trying to find a way to try and dip into that, and get these guys right out of high school that before they can get ruined any more than school's ruining them, start getting them, you know, involved in a trade, someplace they can grow, like was being talked about with a progression, because there's so much in this industry you can do if you just get into it and get your feet wet like we all have. You know, you pick your lane. Which way do you want to go? You know, you can be a one-poler. You can get into owning a service company, do remodels, get into construction. We all know the stories. You know, we just have to be able to transfer that knowledge and that opportunity to people to come to work from us or with us, and hopefully show them that there's a way where you can do that and stay with us if you're really good. You know,
I know.
Rudy, we've seen a shift in the last couple of years, maybe a few, where and we do have a lot of under 21 employees. Our retail store is staffed with a great deal of college kids, especially with our 6-month season here.
Okay, they count.
But you know, and we've got a whole method of people coming in and graduating from being just a clerk in the store to being a water testing person in the store, to then moving, if they feel, you know, that they want to, into our main field, and so on and so forth. So there's a pathway that direction as well. And with that, we have seen more of the college age kids who are not in college that are working for us now, planning for this to be.
And when you say college age kids not in college, you're talking 18 to 24, 18 to 22.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Cause I was wondering, just in talking with some folks and from this conversation as well, if there's not like a hole developing, a lack of interest in coming into this industry in that age group. And maybe Jerry, you guys had identified that early with what you were doing with CPSA, working with the schools, and trying to bring these folks in. Because I mean, everybody across the board, when we were talking before, millennials and some Gen X. Gen Z didn't come up a lot. And I just, you know, looking at the future of the industry, is that something that needs to be addressed? Do we not appeal to those folks?
You know, Rudy, in my, I don't mean to jump in here, but
No, go for it.
In my involvement in the PHTA, I took on a task last November. No, it was last August, of developing workforce videos for the purpose of targeting sort of all of what we're talking about and more, but the you know, hey, I'm not a college type person and I'm looking for a career, to show them that our industry has that for them. And you know, their series, at the end, there's supposed to be 6 videos. COVID really cramped the whole thing because they were supposed to have been done by now, but working with.
They're not finished now.
No, I've got.
Because I was going to ask, where the hell are they?
Yeah,
for
I've got
years.
You know, I've got two I'll share with you that are close to finished, but you know, the purpose is just that. And of the 6 videos, we were targeting that demographic, also targeting other trades. You know, our industry, we all know you got to be able to do everything. And, you know, we need electricians, we need masons, we need plumbers, we need carpenters, to target other trades and show how, you know, if you can show somebody where they can make 80, 90, 100, $120,000 a year working in the pool industry, it becomes very viable. And honestly, I mean, we've all been doing it for so long, not really because we're stuck in it, but because we do enjoy it, right? I mean, as much as we may want to bitch about it and stuff, it's, you know, I haven't been doing this for 30 whatever years it's been, because it sucks every day to get up and come to work. There's a lot of interest, a lot of challenge, a lot of reward, and being able to show my point in getting the PHTA to back me and getting these videos produced was, we've all got those stories and we've got the background to show. You know, we just need to put it in a manner that people can use when you go to a high school, you go to a college, you know, job fair type of environment, use it on your website and your social media, whatever, to drive those people to see the potential that we've got. So I'm hopeful as we work through COVID here that maybe by the end of the first quarter next year, we've got the series complete. I've got a meeting that was born out of the Service Council from which I chair currently. And I've got a meeting coming up in the next week. And I'm going to talk about the potential of just taking the 2 videos that we've got so far and getting them out there.
So last question for everybody, up or down, whatever, sideways, against all odds, are we appropriately staffed now? Is there anybody that's shorthanded? We've not been able to find who we need. We've managed to build enough staff.
I'm good.
We're having to get by with people who are less qualified than we would really like them to be, and they're not ambitious enough to really train themselves and take themselves to the next level. They just want to show up for work and do their thing and go home. So what we're really lacking is people with a brain who are willing to really kind of commit and go to the next level and make a career out of this, and not just have it be a stopover onto the way to their real job or real career.
So they talk a lot. You hear a lot in the news and such, and people, Forbes and what have you, talking about people that are underemployed and how that affects the market. So basically what you're saying is because of what's going on, you're underemploying, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask one question to everybody? It seems like everybody in this group is doing things the right way, and we are too. We spend a buttload of money upgrading our business to where we got company trucks, insurance plan. What we're up against is the majority of our competitors pay guys as subcontractors. They don't have workman's comp. They don't have company truck, and it's our expenses are so high because we're doing things the right way that we have a real battle competing price-wise in the market with all the people that are doing it the wrong way.
I think
You might have heard that's against the law in California now, haven't you, Dave?
I have, and I there's a lot of things that are against the law here, but it's very selective in the way they enforce things, as you know.
Absolutely. I was laughing when I said it.
I think we'll find, everybody will find that it's an issue across the board, and I don't know how to address it. I know, you know, there's a county here that sets up stings with the sheriff's department and such, and they just pull in people from Craigslist, and I'm sure that's not isolated to that or limited to that one county nationwide. But I don't have an answer on that one. I think, yeah, it's going to happen. I really don't know.
I mean, Rudy, you're in monitoring a lot of these social media groups, and guy after guy after guy that's posting there is working 7 days a week, has absolutely no life outside of the business, and he's just living tiny little check to tiny little check the whole way. That's not how you recruit people into an industry and get them to make a career out of it.
No, it's not. I always looked at it like it was this tremendous stealth opportunity that nobody knows about. You know, I fell into this like everybody else. I don't know if any of us planned on going into the pool industry, unless maybe it was a legacy or something along those lines. But I looked at it, I came in the door and I wasn't sure I was staying, but then I looked at all the opportunity and I went in so many different directions myself. I mean, some people, you know, escalate in one path, but I jumped around a little bit in what I did, and I've done a little bit in a lot of the industry, and there's just so many opportunities. I mean, and you'd have to be blind not to see it. I mean, there's manufacturing, there's retail, there's service, there's building, there's even with the you know, trade associations, there's positions there. There's all kinds of different things, and it's just such a magnet. That's the message I think that we need to get out there. So for that kid that doesn't want to go to college, who does have a brain, and that's just not their thing, because it wasn't mine when I was young. That's the industry we need to sell, not 7 days a week, and I can't ever take a day off because I don't have any employees, and who's going to cover my route if I get sick. I mean, that, you know, you do what you got to do. I get it, but there's the right way to do it too. You have to have that picture. That's what we need to get out there and portray more. And you're right. That message doesn't get out there the way that it should. So, and I don't know if Jerry, that's one of the things that you stressed when you went to the high schools. Dan, if that's what's in your videos, I have no idea, but it is a problem. People, you know, working their ass off with the beat up, rusted out truck and is not the dream, you know? So,
Dan, one thing to you specifically, Dan, since you're working with PHTA on this type of a deal, if you haven't met or don't know Michelle Kavanaugh, Rudy can hook you up with how to contact her, or Dave Rockwell can, or I can for that matter.
Michelle's
But
amazing.
Michelle was the one working here in California with CPSA. She still is working with CPSA, attached with PHTA now. She was ran the CPO program for NSPF. So she knows everything that we were doing and how we were going about approaching it. So she might be a resource for you, Dan, going forward as well.
Great, thank you.
Ken, you all staffed up? You got enough people?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, I'm short on the repair installation side, but you know, I've got resources outside the company that I can go to when it gets hot and heavy.
Is your team the quality individual that you want to hire, or they're the people that you had to hire?
No, they're, for the most part, they're good. You know, I mean, you always get a couple of them that, I don't know, they just seem to forget shit. Like, you know, we talked about this last week. I mean, you know, they're good.
Oh, he froze up on us. So I don't know if you can hear me or not, Ken. That's really all the questions that I had. Anybody else got anything that they want to throw out there that we didn't address? So as I mentioned, I'm going to do a write-up on this, and hopefully people can benefit from it. Ken and Dave, you jumped in a second or two late. I did record this, but it's only from my own. So I just didn't have, I can't take notes this quick. That's beyond me. So that's the only reason that I have that there. But, you know, if it's okay with everybody else, there is only one guy in this that's here right now that has a podcast, and it ain't me. So, you know, y'all talk amongst yourselves. Hey, you know, it is what it is. If everybody else is cool with it, let me know. And then after my story comes out, I might share. So anybody else? We all good?
Thanks, Rudy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Definitely. All right. Be good, guys.
Thanks a lot, everybody.